Welcome to NeuroCode. In this video, we will create a 100% working calculator. Whether you want to perform addition between two numbers, or multiply them, or anything you want to do, or even if you want to perform operations with the previous output, you can do all of them. So without wasting any time, let's get started. First of all, let's import the libraries that we need for this project. Write hashtag include C math, and then we will write hashtag include windows.h. Alright, these are the libraries that we will require for creating calculator. Now, first of all, we will have to create a function for printing the calculator, like the structure of calculator, that how it will show the buttons, etc. So let's create it. Void show calculator, and then we will write this, and then we will do cout. It's quite now fine. All right, enough. And then we will write end line, and then again we will do this, but this time let's try to make it beautiful. So we will leave 3 spacing from here, and then we will leave only 1, and then we will write scientific calculator. Okay, so like our screen of calculator is now appearing fine, right? Now we will have to create the buttons, like the structure of buttons, like what the user will see when the user will run the program. But first of all, let's try to run this show calculator, and let's see how this looks like. It's looking fine. See, it's looking beautiful, the structure. And then we will continue from here till down, and from here as well. And then we will add some buttons. We can choose like 3 buttons in one row for our program. Let's try to make it. Now let's do this all. Select, and then we will press Ctrl plus D. See, and 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Yeah, 15 buttons are fine for this code. Now let's add the operations that we will show to the user. The same way we will continue till end. Now we will continue with mod, logs, etc. And we are specifying here the character that user will type. Alright. Now let's continue with mod, log, square, etc. And here we will write the functions of clear and close. Like if the user wants to clear the output that will appear here, then the user will click on K. And if the user wants to terminate the program, means the user want to close the calculator, then he will just write period. So this function is what we will show to the user when the user will first run the program. Like, when the user first of all click on it, run, then this is what the user will see. Let me run it. See, this is what the user will look or see first time. Or the other case is that when the user clicks on clear this button, and then we have to clear the previous outputs, previous data, and we want to show the new picture of calculator. That time also we will show this function. But other times when we want to display an output, means that if the user performed cube of one number, then we have to show the output of that number. So we will show it here at this location, and we will create another function for that. So let's create it. Let's just like copy and then paste it, and we will just change the name of the function, display output, and then it will take a variable of answer as parameter. We will write current, and below we will write output is, and here we will show the output. But first let's create the structure also for it, and here we will show the output. So let's put dummy value in this function and try to run it. See, it's looking fine, right? It will show the current output is, and here it will print the output. Just we wrote one extra dash. And also one more thing, we want the answer in like numbers as well. For example, if we divide 3 by 2, then the answer will come in numbers. So for that we will write here double. We could also write float, but it's okay, let's write double, it's fine. And now let's try to give here 5.00005. Right, it's working. So that's it for the structure of our calculator. That's all we need. And now we will dive into the code, the inside work behind these buttons of plus, till, period. Like we will see all of this, and for that we will create switch statements, etc. inside the while loop. So let's see that. Now let's create the variables we will need for this calculator. And the first two variables will be number 1 and number 2, in which user will enter inputs. Like, if the user wants to add two numbers, then the user will give input of two numbers, number 1 and number 2. So let's create it. Double num1 is equal to 0.0, and then control plus b, number 2 is equal to 0.0. Fine. And then we create the variable for storing the answer as well. So double answer is equal to 0.0. Fine. And the next, the last variable we will need will be the character variable to store the operation we want to perform, whether it's m for mod or r for square root. Let's create it. Character inp for input is equal to backslash n. Backslash n is just like 0.0 for double, and same we will use backslash n for characters to store null value in it or to point at null. And now we will create while loop, and we have to run the while loop as long as the user wants to use the calculator. So we know that when the user enters this dot or period, then we have to close the program. We have to close the calculator. So we will use here while condition, that while, wait, Let me first make it in center. Fine. We will do while input is not equal to period, as long as the user doesn't enter period. Till that time we have to, show the calculator. Fine. So we will first of all ask user to enter an operation. So we will write enter, alright, and then we will get input. Okay. And before that, outside while loop, we will call this function, this first function, which will be the welcome message, you can say. We will write show calculator. That's it. And now how it will work is that, let's even run. The computer will display the calculator and ask user to enter. See, it's working, right? And now if we enter the dot, then it will end. See, our two cases are working as for now, so we are sure about that. Fine. And now we will have to make a decision of whether we want two variables as input or one. What it means is that, see, here some operations require two variables like modulus or power or multiply, right? And some require one like cos or square root, right? So we have to make a difference between them. So we can put if statement here that if input is equal to plus or in input inp double equal to minus or input is equal to multiply or input is equal to divide, fine, or input is equal to mod, okay, or input is equal to, what's the last one, power, yes, p, or input is equal to p. Like if input is any of these things, even if one of this becomes true, then the entire statement will become true and the program will come inside the if. So that's right. And now we know that inside any of these we have to take two inputs. So we will write cout enter num1, and then we will take number one as input, and same way we will do cout enter num2 and see in num2, right? And here let's put the spacing, fine. So that's it for this if statement. Now we know that if we got any of these operations to perform, we will have to get two variables from user. And the other condition is that, what if the user enters to clear the screen or the user enters to terminate the program, right? So we have to specify else if for that, like else if input is equal to k, which is for clear, or input is equal to period. Like if we get any of this input, then just don't take any input, just don't take any input, fine. In else we know that we have to take only one variable, one number from user. So we will write cout enter num1, and then C in num1. Fine. So like we did the process of getting the input. That's all we need. In the first step, we specified the conditions where we want to take two variables. Now let's create switch statements according to the input variable. Okay, so we will write switch, and in the brackets we will write inp for input, because according to the input we want to, like, perform the operations. And now let's write the cases, and in cases we will write all of this, like, from plus to C or R or capital L, all of these. So let's start, and our first case would be case plus for positive, and what we will do is that we will write answer is equal to num1 plus num2, and then we will break, right? This would be for case 1, and same for case 2, which would be for minus, and we will do that case minus, and here we will just change that into minus. Okay, and we just did control plus D here, but even let me write all of these. And in case multiply, we will just write answer is equal to num1 multiply by num2 break, and in case divide, divided by num2, and then there was case of modulus, which was for m, and here even we forgot to write break statement here. Now we will have to write answer is equal to num1 and then modulus operator num2. Now, there is a rule for taking the modulus, that modulus can only be taken of integers, but we are having here the numbers with decimal points, and in order to convert them into integers we will just write int next to them so that the compiler doesn't give error. Even if we try to run it this way now, let's see what happens. Let's say that we don't want to convert it to integer, and now let's try to execute the program, and it would surely give error. See, invalid operands of types double and double. Okay, so we will have to convert them into integers. Same way here, int and then num2, and now if we try to execute it, it would not give us any error. Fine, it's working. And then the next case was of log, and we will write answer is equal to log of num1, and then the next case was of square, yes, square, cube and power, and s was capital, so we will write answer is equal to num1 multiplied by num1, because square is the, square of a number is just to multiply that number with itself. In same way we will take the cube, that case c, and then answer is equal to num1 multiplied by num1 multiplied by num1, and then we will break. Alright, and then the next case was of power. So in power we will just do that answer is equal to P or W. This is keyword for power, and then number 1, and then in number 2 we will write the power. Okay, fine, and then again break, and then there was case of sine and cosine. So in case S, we will write answer is equal to sine of num1, and then again break, and in case C, we will write answer is equal to cos of num1, and then break again, and in case T, we have to write in characters. In case T, the answer will be tan of num1, and then again we will break. And the last case was of square root, right? Square root of a number. So in that the answer will be sqrt for square root and just the number. Fine. And then we will break again. And then another case for period, that even we don't have to write the case for that. But let's write, even we should write because we have to break it. So we will just break in that. And if the user enter an invalid value, we will write it in default and see out you entered invalid value. Also, let's just write it this way. Fine. Now there is one case missing of A, which was for clear, so we will define it later. Okay. So now we have made our switch statement, all of it, with all the operations behind these buttons of calculator, right? So now when the computer will perform these operations and it will store it in the answer variable, at the end we have to show it, because this way, let's see, even like we will not get to see anything if we run it this way. Let's say that we want to perform addition. It will ask us for number. Let's say number 1 is 1 and number 2 is 5, right? And then again it is starting us the operation. It's not showing us the output. And let's end it. So in order to show output, we will call this function, which we define later, this display output. Let's copy it and display it here. In it we will pass the answer, right? Now let's try to run it. Now here you can see if we type plus and then 5 plus 5, and it will show the output that current output is 10, right? But this is little messed up because the calculator is appearing up also, down also. So in order to make it better, let's put simple system CLS. CLS is for clearing the screen. So let's run it now. It would look much beautiful. Let's say that we want to perform cube. Now let's say we want a 5. Let's see if it gives us 125. Yes, it's working, right? And now if we want sine, we can get sine of num1. Okay. And if we want power, 2 to the power of 5, it is given as 32. So it's working, right? And now here, as you saw, that every single time we performed any operation, we had to give two values as input. But what if we want to perform operations on the basis of this value, which we got as output, right? In order to do that, we will have to modify our code little bit. Let's start it by creating, first of all, a boolean variable. At the beginning of our main, we will write bool converter is equal to 0. Means that, we have two functions to display, right? One is by default, which we have to show, which is this one, and the other one is which we have to show for output, right? And that is this one. So we have to put a converter between them, that whether we have to convert it to first one or second one. Okay, so that's why we assign that bool converter is equal to 0. Fine. Now inside this while, we'll have to copy this whole code. Let's copy this code, even cut it, and then we will write one if this, that if converter is equal to 1, and then we will run this code, and in else case we will run the other code. In converter is equal to 1, we mean that if we want to display the output, want to display output. Okay, if we want to show basic calculator, and in this case we will take only one input, and in this case we will take two inputs, same as before. So let's even write the else part first of all, and let's paste our code. Okay, it is looking little messed up, so let's put the tab. Fine. It will ask us to enter any operation. Okay, and it will work same way, and at the end of the else we will just write converter is equal to 1. Means that the first time we will show this, right, and the user will perform an operation. Okay, and as a user perform operation, then the next time it should come into this one, so we will write this. All right, so in this let's write same way. Let's copy it first of all, and then we will have to take input of operator. Okay, and now here, if the user enter any of these things, we will have to take only one number, right? So here we will just do that. We will cancel this all and write num1 is equal to answer. Means the previous value na, the previous value from the output, it will come into number 1. Simple. That's it. And in the else part, we will just assign same way, num1 is equal to answer. That's it. Okay, that's it for basic. And also in this we will call the function which would be display output answer. Okay, and in this we will call the basic function that show calculator. Fine. And let's remove this from here because we are already displaying up. Okay, and now what if the user wants to clear the screen, like user don't want to see the output, or the user wants to start from beginning? And we will update it in the clear case, that if the user enters k, then do converter is equal to 0. Okay, now let's see if it's working. I pray it's working. Let's run it. Now let's start. Let's say that we want to divide a number. First number is 5, second number is 3. See, we got 1.667. Now we want to add this 1.667 into 5. It's asking only for one number, 6.66. See, it took the previous number and performed addition in that. Let's say that we want to perform the square of this number. Wow, it's working. Let's say we want to perform square root of this number. All right. And like what? let's say that we want to divide it again with 1.111. All right. And if we want to multiply it with 5, fine. Now, what if we want to clear the output and start from beginning? So we will enter K for that, and let's see if it's working. Yeah, it's working. And now let's try to take modulus. It's asking for two numbers, as you can see. Means that it is 100% working. Let's say the modulus of 20 with 3. Okay, it's giving the correct answer. And now let's take its square. Fine. And now let's take its sine. Okay. And now let's take its power with 5. Okay. And then let's divide it with minus 2. Fine. Let's take its power again with 5. Okay. So it's working. It's like 100% working, right? So now let's close it. It just closed. So that's it for our calculator program. It was little long, but at the end you enjoyed. You created a real calculator, like kind of real calculator with the real appearance of calculator. So I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe to NeuroCode. See you in another project or video.